Hello and welcome to Introduction to Video Game Development. This is Computer Science 303 at Missouri State University. My name is Matthew, and again I will be showing you how to use UDK. As always, I give you the disclaimer that I am not an expert. So let's begin as always by copying over our latest version of our map to our contents directory. Close this, and here's my map shortcut in my contents directory. And I will paste, copy and replace. And now let's open the editor. Today we're going to continue working a bit with enemy AI and Kismet, and after that, with the time we have left, we'll build a small cinematic matinee sequence to work more with the director group and demonstrate another way we can do animations and sounds. And so our existing map here is Lab 13. I'll close our extra windows here. So I had hoped we might have time to further develop a defensive AI sequence for our bot, but in the interest of giving you a free lab day to work on your final projects together, I decided to shorten our work with AI so that you can move on, or so that we can move on and finish our topics in time to give you that extra day. And so as an alternative to building a defensive behavior, we'll instead be building an invincible helper bot who will simply follow us around and who will fire at the deathmatch bot that we added to our level earlier at the beginning of our work with AI. And so before we begin, I'll show you a few of the changes that I made here. And so here we go. Here's our player start, same as always. And if we come in, now our bot that we made last time who will crouch whenever we shoot him, he will spawn right here. And our deathmatch bot, who was originally starting over here, he will now be spawning in this larger room where he has more room to play. And just so you can see exactly what we've done so far, I'll hit play. In we come. I'll go ahead and hit the door to open it. And stepping over here is our crouching bot. I can shoot him and he crouches. He doesn't have invincibility yet, so if I shoot him a total of 4 times, then he'll go ahead and die. I'll go ahead and flip our light switch here, which we made earlier, and then now I'll go ahead and open this door, and here is our deathmatch AI bot who's running around, and whenever he sees me he'll start shooting. There we go. There we go. And so let's take a look at our Kismet that's running all this behavior. And I've set up everything in a column here, moving up. So here we have the spawn bot section, which we were working on previously, where the bot is spawned on the 2nd floor, and it activates this subsequence that determines his behavior, where he moves between 3 different path nodes that we selected earlier. And then on the 1st floor in the larger room, here is our deathmatch AI bot with a new path node for its spawn point. And it does nothing other than just spawn the bot repeatedly after each death, and he has the forced deathmatch AI set. So he will fire at anything. And here is our helper bot, who we are going to give him some behavior to help us out. And to start off with, the actor factory here, underneath pawn class in the factory submenu in the properties, there's the pawn name. And so go ahead and go into that field, and we will name this guy helperbot. There we go. And so now the only event we have occurring here that he's attached to is this take damage, and we'll go ahead and use this to so whenever he takes damage, we'll modify his health back up to 100%, and this is just one way that we can make him invincible. So right click, new action, actor, this is modify health, and so from the out on the take damage we'll go this leave this into the in on the modify health. The guy who we want to modify his health is the target, that's the helper bot. And if you go ahead and click on modify health, you'll see in the properties here we have heal. We want to go ahead and toggle that on, so anything we put in the amount field will be the amount he's healed by. And so we'll go ahead and put 100 to get him back up to full health. There we go. And now also, since he's living forever, and eventually we're going to set him up so that he fires at our deathmatch bot, he could potentially run out of ammo in the future. So let's play around with his inventory for a moment. And so let's right-click, New Action, and then under Pawn, you'll see Infinite Ammo. Go ahead and click on that. And the target here will be the helper bot. And we want this to be given, this infinite ammo to be given to our bot whenever he spawns. So as soon as it finishes spawning him from the factory, we'll have it leading into the infinite ammo. So it finishes spawning, kicks off the infinite ammo right away. There we go. And so just to test this real quick to make sure it works, at least for the modify health section, I'll go ahead and play in the editor. Go over to our door. Here's our friend. I'll go ahead and hit the lights so you can see him. There we go. And so now, last time he died within 4 hits. Now he will just keep on taking a licking and keep on ticking. There we go. So that part works then. Alright. Now we have to get the bot to follow the player. In earlier versions of UDK, you could use the player as a destination for the move to actor node, and this is how many tutorials will actually tell you to do this. However, I have never gotten it to work that way, and I know that a lot of people have admitted confusion over how to create a follower bot on the forums, and so I expect they might have changed that at some point, and so the tutorials are simply out of date. But there is another way we can do this in the most recent version, and rather than actually connecting it to the or having the player use as the destination for the move to actor node, we can create a dynamic trigger volume, and then when the player spawns we can attach it to the player, and then we can use that volume as the destination node, or the destination on a move to actor node. And so first, let's go to our brush so that we can go about making a dynamic volume. So here is our here's our brush, and now I will drag the brush out into our spawning area. It doesn't really matter where you put this volume, because as soon as the player spawns, it just gets moved directly to the player. But just for the sake of being able to see it and know it's there, I'm just going to move it just outside of our level, kind of near where our player is spawning. So dragging the brush over, and further still, there we go. So here's our player start, here's our volume that we're going to attach to the player as soon as he spawns at that player start. And so this is where the brush is. Go to volumes, and then we want dynamic trigger volume. Go ahead and select that. I'll move the brush over so you can see it. So this white shaped, or this white lined cube here that we just created, this is our trigger volume that we're going to attach to our player. And so before we move on though, I want you, while you're mousing over the edge of this shape, go ahead and double click it. You'll see dynamic trigger volume properties. And now in the attachment submenu, go ahead and open that, and you'll see hard attach here. We want to select this because we're going to be attaching it to the player. There we go. So with that selected now, so you want to make sure you have this trigger volume selected. Go ahead and open Kismet, and we will right click new object variable using dynamic trigger volume. There we go. And so we want to attach this to the player when he spawns, so we'll need 2 nodes here. We need a new event, player spawned, and we'll need a new action, actor attached to actor. And I'm going to restore the window here for Kismet, and over here you can see the player start. Go ahead and select your player start, and then in Kismet we'll go ahead and add a variable for it too. So new object variable using player start 0, and we have to connect this into the spawn point on our player spawned. And then also we're going to need a player variable, so right click, new variable, player, and then the properties on this player, we want to deselect all players. There we go. And so as soon as the player spawns, we go to this attach to actor node. The target here is the player, And the attachment is the dynamic volume. There we go. And so now anytime the player spawns, it will go ahead and perform a hard attach to the player. And we want to go ahead and adjust this. Use relative offset and use relative rotation. And so now under relative offset, we want to make it so he's not trying to go directly on top of the player. So let's go ahead and set this X and Y values to 50 or so. And you might have to play around with those to make sure the movement of the pawn seems more realistic to you. And so now we have the dynamic volume attaching to the player as soon as he spawns, but we can't really test it yet because we can't really see that volume as we're playing. So we're gonna have to build up some kismet here to make the actor, the pawn, move to that dynamic trigger volume. So out here to the right of our actor factory, we'll do a right-click, new action, miscellaneous, trace. So whenever the factory finishes spawning, it will go into this trace, and the trace will start from the bot and end at the player. This is just so long as he has line of sight to the player itself. And then out to the right of our trace, do click new action, AI, move to actor. And now, so if it's not obstructed, we'll go to the move to actor input. The target here is going to be the bot. And since we can't use the player as the destination, we'll go ahead and connect the destination to our dynamic volume. So there's our dynamic volume there. Okay. And okay. Now we want it so that the obstructed output and both the output on this trace and move to actor nodes both loop back to this in on the trace. But we don't want it to happen immediately. We don't want it to overload the system by just constantly looking for a trace over and over again. And so let's put a delay on this. And in the past we've used delay nodes, which we've added like any other nodes. Another interesting way to be able to add delay, specifically on a single output, is go ahead and mouse over the output, right? And right-click. The very last option here is Set Activate Delay. Go ahead and click on that. And for this first one on the trace, we'll go ahead and do that as 2 seconds. And then on the out, we'll go ahead and do it also as 2 seconds. And then from obstructed, it goes back to the in. And from the out, it goes back to the in. There we go. Oh, and I missed it. There we go. There we go. Boom. Okay. So the obstructed on trace has a delay of 2 seconds and then goes back to the in on the trace. The move to actor, it will, as soon as it finishes, it'll wait for 2 seconds and then start the trace again. There we go. And so now he should be ready to go ahead and move and follow our player around. Let's go ahead and test this real quick. Come in, playing in the editor, open the door, our bot's going to spawn, here he is, and you'll notice he ran right to us. I'll turn on my lights here. There we go. So here's our buddy. Every 2 seconds he's going to try and reach us. There he goes. And so that is working just as we expect. So now that he has infinite health, infinite ammo, and he's following us around, let's get him to actually do some good and fire at our death bot whenever he actually sees him. So we're going to need another trace here. This is going to be a trace between the bot and the other bot, the deathmatch bot that we want him to fire upon. So right-click, new action, miscellaneous trace. And so whenever the bot spawns, we'll go ahead and connect it in. And the start of this trace will be our helper bot. The end of this trace will be our deathmatch bot, which you remember is just up here. So this is the variable from our deathmatch bot factory. So there's the end of the trace. And so we're going to need some nodes here to guide his behavior. So right-click, new action, AI, start firing at. Right-click, new action, AI, stop firing. Okay. And so the target on the stop firing is or the start firing is the helper bot, and he is going to fire at the deathmatch bot, so which is up here. There we go. And then the target on our stop firing, that's going to be our helper bot. There we go. And you'll remember last time we used delay nodes for our start firing and stop firing. This time we'll go ahead and use our set activate delay option on our output. So right click the output on the start firing. We'll set that to 2 seconds. And then right click the stop firing output and set the delay for 1 second. That's the default value. And so whenever the trace between the helper bot and the deathmatch bot is unobstructed, not obstructed, we'll connect that directly into the in on the start firing. So it'll wait 2 seconds afterwards and then stop firing. There we go. And then if it's obstructed, go ahead and just stop firing. And now as well, from the stop firing out, after the delay of 1 second, he will try to reestablish that trace. Okay. So now our invincible friend should be able to assist us by firing on that deathmatch bot. We'll come over, open the door. I'll go ahead and turn on the lights. Here's our friend. And now I'll open this door. And see, oh, he lost me. There we go. Here's our buddy. And there he goes. And so, success. Wonderful. Now, let's go ahead and create a short little cinematic for when this fellow begins helping the player. Now, we won't be able to play with animations in Matinee directly using the pawn that is spawned there. So we'll first need to pick out a skeletal mesh and bring it in here. So go to your content browser, and with all assets selected, go to skeletal meshes, and the skeletal mesh for the guy that's spawning is our UT pawn. Let's go ahead and if we search for Liam, so it's sk_ch_Liam_cathode. Go ahead and take this and drag him directly out. So I'll pull him up now, and I'll hit end to snap him to the floor. And with it selected, I'll go ahead and bring this over just a little bit to right where he spawns, and press space to get to our rotation widget, and turn him so he's facing towards the door. There we go, golden. And so there is our skeletal mesh of the pawn. He also normally has a default inventory, right? So we're going to need to give him a gun to hold for when he's doing his animation here. So back in the skeletal meshes, type link. So we have two link guns here. One says sk_wp_linkgun_1p. The other one's the same except it ends in 3p. We want the 3p version. That's third person version. So we'll go ahead and take that and drag it directly out into the world. And so now we're going to need to connect this to the skeletal mesh. And what we can do, now that we have this guy out here, we'll go ahead, while this is selected, our link gun that we just added in the skeletal mesh, go to View, and then you'll see Enable Socket Snapping. And then also View Show Socket Names. There we go. And so when I click on this, there we go. Oh, oops. So while I have this selected here, we have the link gun selected, and we have the socket snapping enabled and the socket names enabled. We'll go ahead and right click on the skeletal mesh of the pawn, and it's going to give us a list of different sockets that we can connect that gun onto. The one we want for our gun will be weapon point. And go ahead and click OK, and you see the link gun is now attached to his hand. So I'll go ahead and deselect those in our view here. So disable, enable socket snapping, and we'll turn off these socket names as well. There we go. And so now he's holding that gun, and any animations we make that pawn do, he'll do it with that gun in hand. Okay. Now, since we already have a director group set up in our earlier matinee sequence where we reorient the camera as we turn on the lights, we'll go ahead and just continue in that earlier matinee sequence to demonstrate these skeletal mesh animation controls. And so, going back into Kismet, and I'll go up quite a bit here. So, wherever you have your Kismet set up for your light switch, this is where we're working here. So, right now, whenever we use that light switch, it goes to this switch node where it can toggle on or off, so play or reverse the matinee sequence that changes the point light, the toggleable point lights, and the material instance constants parameter track. The other matinee sequence here, just below it, this is, double click it, you can see we have a director group and this room 2 camera that we created earlier. So this is the matinee sequence that we're going to be working in. And just so that it doesn't play this more than once, let's go ahead and disconnect from our switch here. Let's go ahead and disconnect that from our matinee sequence with the director. So go ahead and disconnect those. Okay. And now right click, new action. We're going to put in a new switch. And this one is just going to have a single link, and we want to make sure it doesn't have a looping set. That way, whenever the trigger is used for the first time, it will activate this matinee sequence. There we go. And so now the matinee sequence where the director track is, or the director group is taking control of the camera, is only going to occur once. Now double clicking on the matinee sequence, so we can take a look at exactly what it's doing here. Okay. And so you can see at time 00, the director track is switching to the room 2 camera, which you can see in our level is right here. And then it's interpolating a path for that camera, you can see in our window here, until it's looking at the lights. And there we go. Okay. And so then it's looking at the lights while it switches, and I'll zoom out here a little bit. Okay, there we go. And now, let's go ahead and take this whole sequence here, and right now it ends just a little bit after 4 seconds. Let's go ahead and extend this out to around 8 seconds by taking this red triangle down here. We're just going to drag it over. There we go. So now we have a full 8 seconds in the sequence. And let's go ahead and add a second camera to our room here that we can use specifically for close-ups on our skeletal mesh actor here. Close Kismet, and here we are. Okay. So right now we just have the first camera, which is reorienting to look at the lights. We're going to make a second camera now. So go to your content browser under actor classes, and then in common, the very first one there's camera actor. Make sure it's selected and drag it out. Here's our camera. And now closing the content browser, to position this camera where we want it to start, go ahead and click on this eyeball here, lock selected actors to camera. And then as soon as I move, you'll see it disappear. And now we want to start this camera out right around his feet. Somewhere around there. There we go. So there's his feet. Okay. And select the eye again. So there we go. So now the camera is pointed right at his feet to begin with. And now going back into our matinee sequence here. With that new camera selected, right here, we want to right click new camera group. And this one we'll call the bot cam. Okay. So we have a second camera here, and whenever we look at our director's track, it's switching to the room 2 camera at time 000, and now we go to around 4 seconds where it was before, and I'll go ahead and select this point in time here, and with our camera selected, our movement track on the bot cam group selected here, we'll go ahead and put in a key event right there. And then also with the director track selected, we'll put in a key event right there. And this is cut to group. We'll call this, we set it up to go to the bot cam. Say OK. And so now you can see around 4 seconds, the director is going to switch to the bot cam, which is pointing at the bot's feet. And now I'm going to make this window a little bit smaller and close the Kismet window so you can see where we are here. So if we're moving along with the track, so it starts at the very beginning, we're moving, it reorients, the lights are going to turn on. 4 seconds later, it switches cameras to this guy at his feet. And now with our movement track selected on the bot cam group, let's go to 8 seconds around the end of our matinee sequence, and we'll go ahead and add another key event. And so now anywhere we move the camera at this point, it will go ahead and use that as the location it's going to move to. So scrolling up, there we go. And so moving this over just a little bit so you can see. I'll take this back to the beginning. So the matinee sequence starts, it looks up, the lights turn on, the camera switches to his feet, we start moving up. There we go. Okay. So that part's done now. So the camera motion is done. Now sliding over my matinee sequence, I select my static mesh, and now we want to right click on our matinee to add a new empty group. This one we will call bot anim. There we go. And then you'll see in the properties here of a new empty group, it says group anim sets. This is basically any anim sets that might be used in this group. So we want to add the one for this bot here. So we'll go ahead and add a new item. We don't have anything in there yet. Let's go to our content browser, and then select animation sets, all assets, and then in the search field we want k underscore anim. There we go. So it's k underscore anim human underscore base male, the same anim set we worked with last time. Go ahead and click that, and so it's selected in the content browser. And then in our group anim sets here, in this new field that we have, go ahead and hit the green arrow so it imports it from the content browser. There we go. And now double check, make sure you have that skeletal mesh selected, and we'll right click in our bot anim group, and now we want, let's see, where is it? A new anim control track. Go ahead and add that, and now this anim control track is automatically tied to this skeletal mesh of the guy, and so around 6 seconds or so. So around 6 seconds, with this anim control track selected, we want to go ahead and add a key event, and you'll see here that we have any animation sequence in that anim set now we can select. And so the one we want is, let's see, the taunt underscore FB underscore bring it on. So we select that, and you can see the duration of this animation shows in this track now. Let's go ahead and just move the end of the track over. There we go. Okay. And so now he's going to be doing this animation at the very end. And if I move this over, you can probably see him. There we go. So it switches to him. It's moving up. And you can see his arms are moving through the animation. There we go. Wonderful. Okay. And so we've got him doing an animation. Let's also get him to do a sound. And so first we're going to need to make a sound cue, because the voices for these bots are only set up as sound waves. And so I'll deselect skeletal meshes and anim sets, and we'll go to all types on the object type, and we want a sound wave. There we go. And the sound wave we're wanting, let's see, got your, there it is, okay. So we're looking for a underscore bot status underscore corrupt underscore I've got your back. And having that selected, go ahead and right click, and we need a new sound cue. And we'll go ahead and save this in our lab 13 package, or whichever package you've been saving your other content into. So lab 13 right here. Our grouping is sound, and the name will be got your back cue. Okay, and go ahead and add it, and let's see here, all assets here, and got your back. Okay, so these are the two I've got your back sound waves, and now our got your back sound cue, which as soon as we created it, we got our sound cue editor. Now select that sound node wave that we want to use, right click sound node wave a underscore bot status underscore corrupt underscore I've got your back, and connect it directly in. There we go. So whenever we play this sound cue now, it will do the sound of him saying, I've got your back. So close this with the sound cue selected. Okay, so we've got a sound cue made. Now what we need to do is, I'll bring my window down here a little bit, add a new group, new empty group. We'll call this one bot sound. So this is a soundtrack, or right click, and we want to add a new soundtrack into this empty group that we call bot sound. And so bring my window down just a little bit further. So here's our soundtrack, and anywhere we put a key event into the soundtrack, it will go ahead and play a sound cue. And so let's move it around 7 seconds or so, or let's do 6.5. So at 6.5 seconds, with this sound cue selected and the soundtrack selected in our bot sound group, we'll go ahead and add the key event for I've got your back. And you can see right here, he's actually going to do the sound, and that's how long it takes. And so I think we're good to go. It'll be going, it'll switch over. There we go. And as one final step, let's go ahead and take a look at our Kismet again. And we want to make this so that whenever the matinee sequence finishes, it goes ahead and it toggles these skeletal meshes to where they can't be seen anymore, and spawns that bot in its place. And so what we can do is, let's right click, new action, toggle hidden. So as soon as the matinee sequence finishes, from completed, it goes to this hide node on the toggle hidden. The target is going to be the skeletal mesh, and then also don't forget your gun. So here's our gun. We want to go ahead and add another variable in there. So object variable using skeletal mesh actor 2. That's the gun, and we'll connect that to the target as well. So as soon as the cinematic finishes, the skeletal meshes will disappear. And then as well, as soon as they disappear from the out on the toggle hidden, we'll run this down to our spawn on the helper bot. So this goes into the spawn actor. And let's go ahead and just get rid of this touch volume that we used earlier. And so now the cinematic sequence will start whenever we flip the light switch. It will go ahead and do the camera motions, do the animation, the sound, and then afterwards toggle the skeletal meshes so they're hidden, and then immediately afterwards it will spawn our helper bot in the same spot. And so let's go ahead and build all real quick. I'll pause. Or at least I would if it would allow me. And so it's just about ready. We'll go ahead and close this now and play. We come in, we come over, step over, and here's our skeletal mesh there now. We'll come over now and turn on the lights. It rises up. And you might need to change the volume on his dialogue setting there, but now you can see we've done a little bit more with our work here. So our helper bot spawns, we have a cinematic cueing his intro, and he says, "I've got your back," right before he begins actually working for you. And I will see you next time.